Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Millennial TV. Happy Halloween, everybody. This is our spooky premiere episode. We're going to talk about a lot of fun, spooky things, some ghost stories, and some Halloween related things, and we really hope you enjoy it. We have a special guest today who I'm so happy to introduce. Kelsey is going to be joining us. She's been my best friend since kindergarten, so I'm super excited to have her here with us. And to start things off, we're going to talk about some iconic Halloween costumes of Miss Lauren Conrad. She is truly the chic Halloween princess. She really has some great costumes going on, and I just thought we could look into them a little bit and do a little bit of a deep dive. The most iconic ones that I could find were things like she did Cruella de Vil, Britney Spears, the Lady from the Birds, Mary Poppins. She did Alice in Wonderland. She was the Flapper Girl. She was Minnie Mouse. And all while being the chicest version of these things you could possibly imagine. So fashionable.
You can tell Candace loves her.
I do. I know. I am such a Lauren Conrad apologist, and I fully admit it. I mean, she's gorgeous, and she really pulls stuff off. Like, her fashion sense is really intense. Like, and most of the stuff she comes up with on her own. Like, most of this stuff was back before she was, the kind of famous that she is now.
It's not go to Spirit Halloween and buy
No,
a
she
costume.
really thinks about it and really comes up with something creative. So I think my absolute favorite is probably the Lady from the Birds. I thought that was so unique and so different. And I loved that her son was in it and he was a bird. And I loved that. Super, super cute. What did you guys like the most out of the iconic ones?
I really liked her Minnie Mouse. I thought that one was really cute and creative. Just like it kind of reminded me of like Disney bounding a little bit. Not like I'm in a huge Minnie Mouse costume, but super cute. I also liked the one where she was a deer and her other friends were like other woodland creatures, like forest animals.
Yeah.
But I think the thing I like the most is that all of her costumes are really feminine and cute, and none of them are like super slutty, which is like I feel like that's all we have options of mostly, which sucks, but you know what I mean.
And I love her Cruella de Vil outfit. I feel like it's so like it's Halloween, but make it fashion. And
Yes.
that's the epitome of Lauren Conrad.
Mhm.
So I love that one.
Yeah. Kelsey, what do you think?
I really liked their Cruella de Vil as well. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
she did it classy and not campy, which you could easily go into camp with that, and she did a really good job.
Do you think that's her real hair? No.
I don't know.
I think it might be. I think she might have done the spray paint dye.
Okay, yes. I see some of the like blonde
Yeah.
coming through her black
Yeah.
hair. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does look like her real hair, I
But
think, yeah.
even the hairstyle was so chic. Like, it wasn't like crazy Cruella de
Yeah,
Vil. It was
yeah.
like
Sleek.
super, like very fashion Cruella de Vil. Like, that could be on the runway.
Yes, totally. I didn't realize too that her bird costume, she was supposed to be the Twitter bird. I thought that was really funny.
Oh,
like when
I
it was
didn't
she was
even
in the blue bird
realize.
costume.
Yeah, super cute. Yeah, and then the fact that she comes up with these ideas and just goes with it, like, I am the most uncreative human being on planet Earth. I cannot come up with anything. Kelsey is super creative. She's made like every single Halloween costume that she's ever had. One year
Wow.
in high school, we decided we were going to do an Alice in Wonderland theme with all of our friends. So, we all went and bought like spirit Halloween costumes, and Kelsey came as Queen of Hearts, and she literally made the costume herself. She
Oh my gosh.
had
Wow.
sewed on the actual deck of cards like around the dress, and
that's so
like
cool.
had a crown with like it was so stinking cute, and like the dress was so pretty and red. Oh my gosh, she's the most creative. She made our Disney
That's so
ears.
cute.
Awesome.
Kelsey, you have to share a picture
Yeah.
with
I
us
know.
if you have one, and we'll post it on our Instagram.
Yes.
I think I might have one on Facebook, but
Oh, I hope you do. I don't know if I do.
But yeah, from that picture of us all in the guidance office. I think I
Oh,
have
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. But but yeah, it was
Yeah.
yeah. Did you guys make your Halloween costumes when you were younger, or did you buy?
I bought mostly, but actually just before COVID, I wanted to dress up as the people in Us, that
Oh, so
movie
cool.
Yeah.
with the scissors. And so I bought a jumpsuit that I wanted to dye red and then like carry the scissors around. But of course, COVID had to hit, so we never actually got to like wear that to work and stuff. But like I still really want to do that. And it'd be like super creepy.
Yeah.
That would
be
be
so
awesome.
fun.
Yeah.
We usually just buy ours. I remember my mom would make them for me though when I was little, and I have the biggest memories of her dressing me up as a pumpkin, and I feel like a lot of people had this when they were kids, where it was like the pumpkin and then she stuffed it with newspaper. So I was like walking around, like
Yeah.
yeah.
I actually learned this today, but my grandma apparently made all of my sister's Halloween costumes when she was little. And I guess by the time I was born, she was like, screw it. Because she didn't make one costume for me. I was like, Grandma made your costumes? What? Yeah. So I'm a little hurt by this.
She's not the favorite at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently I was second born, so I wasn't as special, I guess. But yeah, Kelsey, your mom made a lot of your costumes.
My mom made all of my costumes. And one of the most memorable ones, I think, were we in first grade when I was Mrs. Potato Head?
Oh my gosh.
That is
She sewed like a
awesome.
total potato that I wore, and my friends could like come up and mix and match what the face would look like. She made like felt.
Oh my goodness.
faces.
Wow.
Oh, it was so cute. I still
That's
have.
so cool.
That is such a good idea.
Yeah.
That's where she gets her creative gene.
Oh yeah,
from.
she definitely taught me how to be like creative and make my own costumes and stuff like that.
You know what I really want to do is like be a Rubik's Cube, because you could basically just wear a box and then just like paste like the colors on, and I feel like that would be so easy,
That's
but you
cute.
just wouldn't be able to like do anything all day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that idea.
it'd be
a lot.
really cute in pictures.
I'll save it for my kids next time. My unborn children.
So we're gonna give you a little dive into our Halloween celebrations and tell you what our favorite Halloween movie choices are. It really honestly depends on if I'm going scary or just Halloween vibes.
Give us both.
If I'm just going Halloween vibes, I definitely go old school and I do like Nightmare Before Christmas, Hocus Pocus, Halloween Town movies, the Disney Channel original movies. Those still hit. And then if I'm going like scary, I love to do the old school slasher films like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. I also really enjoy some of the new Ari Aster flicks like Pearl and X.
You liked Pearl?
Yeah.
Oh my, okay. I loved X, and I had such high hopes for Pearl, but I couldn't get into that one.
Oh, I love it. I think she's totally psychotic. I love it.
She was really weird. It was a bit too weird for me.
I enjoyed it. I also watched Midsummer. That's a good one.
Oh yeah, another weird
It is
one.
weird. Jasmine kind of got me into them. They are really weird, but they're unsettling. Which, like, if you're trying to be
Yeah.
scared, I kind of like that feeling.
It's a different kind of horror.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like old school slasher flicks, I really like. Honestly, when it feels like it's Halloween to me, it's after I've watched Nightmare Before Christmas or Hocus Pocus. Like that's when it feels like Halloween to me.
I love all of the Blumhouse stuff.
Yeah.
So like James Wan, I love all of his movies that he's directed. So like The Conjuring, Insidious, Sinister, all that stuff. I love those movies so much. I also really love the Paranormal Activity series. I know that a lot of the movies like towards the end there were not great, but I think the first three are so good. And I saw the first one in the movie theater, not really knowing anything of like what it was about. And that was like one of the only movie theater experiences where like the whole audience was like gasping and screaming. And then I could not sleep for the next like 5 nights. I like had to sleep with my light on, and that never happened. So I just love those movies from the theater going experience alone. But every year we watch all of the Michael Myers Halloween movies. Those are my absolute favorite. We went to the 45th year convention a few weeks ago in Pasadena and got to meet a bunch of the actors from the movies and stuff, and it was amazing. But Halloween 3 specifically, I just have to give it a shout out because when it first came out, the movie was hated by everyone because it was the first Halloween movie that did not have Michael Myers in it, but they didn't tell anybody that he wasn't going to be in it. They called it Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. they should have just called it Season of the Witch, because everybody was expecting Michael Myers and then he never showed up. So it was just like, everyone was like, this is the worst movie ever. It's not part of the Halloween series. And so over the last like 10-15 years, it started being shown at like midnight showings at small theaters in Los Angeles and stuff like that. And then over the course of those years, I feel like it's people in our age group specifically has like brought it back to life of like, hey, this is actually a really great movie. And now it's like totally celebrated. And we have like so much of our Halloween decorations are from that movie specifically. So it's near and dear to my heart. And I could go on and on about those movies, but
Kelsey's
those are
dying
our
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Really?
loves Halloween.
We are like the same person when it comes to movies. Everything you're
Oh
saying,
my
I'm like,
gosh.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Kelsey
That's
is
awesome.
our resident Halloween
Oh, yeah.
person. She loves
100.
those
I
movies.
mean,
Yeah, she's wearing a Michael Myers shirt
if
currently.
you could see it.
Like,
Oh my gosh.
honestly,
Rocking 2018 right now.
My
I
cousin.
remember. Yes,
Oh my
I'm
god.
afraid of him.
Liz just pulled out a Michael Myers
Yeah.
mug.
I have the same one. I have 3 of them
Yeah.
at home, actually.
Yes.
She was definitely afraid of him to the point where if somebody was dressed up as him on Halloween, she would like hysterically cry and run the opposite direction. Like she was definitely afraid of him, and now she like loves him.
But what's weird is I've always loved the movies. I could watch the movies
Mhm.
over and over again. And I think in person, he scares the life out of me, even to this day. But I
Yeah.
have never been more jealous of anything than when you told me you went to the con. Oh my gosh, I wanted to go so bad. That's amazing. But yeah, like you said, I'm obsessed with all of the Halloween movies. I really love Halloween 3, which is controversial, like you were talking about.
Yep.
But I think more people are getting on board,
Yes.
and it's fantastic. Michael Myers, hands down, best horror villain of all time.
I think he's the scariest one of all like the slasher villains because he is just like evil for no reason.
Yeah.
I feel like Jason and Freddy and stuff and Chucky, they all have like reasons why they're doing this stuff. And
Mhm.
Michael is literally like, I'm just gonna walk into your kitchen and stab you.
Yeah.
I think that's why he's the scariest.
No motive. It's just to do it.
Yep.
Yeah. This is why I was so afraid of seeing people dressed as him when I was a kid.
Yeah.
because it's so real.
I mean, he is pretty like legit. Like I'm gonna stab you.
But
Yeah.
honestly, in my life, it's Halloween year round. I love horror movies. It's my favorite
Mhm.
genre. Any slasher, paranormal, that kind of thing, I'm so in. So I really like all of them. But like I said, Michael Myers, Halloween. I really like the Jordan Peele movies, all of them. I think he's fantastic.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
Ari Aster, I'm really getting into Ari Aster stuff too because it is, like you said, really trippy and weird. Yeah.
It's awesome.
So every Halloween, I feel like is the only time I really want to subscribe to Disney Plus, so I can get access to Halloween Town
Yeah.
1, 2,
Yeah.
3, and we're not going to talk about
No, we're
4,
not.
okay? Although I love Sarah Paxton, but we're not going to talk about 4. Did you see the main girl Marnie married Calabar?
Fun, yeah.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah. Can I just say, honestly, about Halloween Town 4, I'm really upset because Kimberly J. Brown confirmed that she was available and wanted to do the movie. They just didn't ask her.
Yes.
Yeah, I heard that too, and that's very.
And if you
upsetting.
don't know, Halloween Town is a fantastic series starring Kimberly J. Brown. And Disney Channel stabbed all millennial kids in the heart when they came out with Halloween Town 4. And it was the college one, and it did not star Kimberly J. Brown. It starred Sarah Paxton, who
Sarah
looks nothing
Paxton.
like
Mm.
Kimberly J. Brown. But not only that, every other person in the movie was from the original cast, except
Oh.
for Marnie.
Yeah,
Very upsetting.
it's really bad. Yeah. And this next one's so Tower of Terror, which I love,
Yes.
but it's not on Disney Plus.
No.
At least
Yeah.
it's not on in Canada. And
Mhm.
I don't know where to find this movie
I
again,
love
but I
that
really
one.
want to
It's
watch
so
it again.
good.
We have it on DVD. You can
So-
probably
yeah, I do
buy it
too.
on eBay or Amazon maybe. Yeah, we have it. It's so good. I love that movie. I love Steve Guttenberg.
It's so
I found
good.
it on
Yes.
eBay. My husband got it.
You
eBay,
found it
yeah.
on
Yeah.
eBay?
I love that movie. It's such a good one.
It's so good.
I always love a horror thriller movie. So if we ever do movie night, I'm always like, I want to watch one of those. And then
Mhm.
my boyfriend's always like covering his eyes, closing his ears kind of thing. But in university, when I would study, I would always put on like a bad horror or thriller
Mhm.
from Netflix. And I love to just like have it in the background to just like kind of watch because like, you know, those bad movies you don't really have to pay full attention to, but you still know exactly like what's
Mhm.
happening. And so those were always my movies of choice to put in the background. But recently Netflix had Fear Street 1, 2, and 3 in the past I don't know, 2 years, I
Mhm.
think. And those I really like too. So
Mhm.
I'm so bad at remembering like the names of movies, but I just love putting on all the different horror movies from
Mhm.
Netflix. And even if they're bad, I'll watch it because I love bad horror
Yeah, me
movies.
Yeah.
too. I love B horror movies.
That's like a genre in and of itself.
It
Yeah.
is. Yes.
And I especially love the ones where like a group of friends are going to like the cabin in the woods,
Yes.
Mhm.
and you know that someone's going to come like pick them off
Yep.
slowly, and you know exactly what's going to happen, but I love watching
Yes, they're the
those.
best.
All right. So we have a couple of stories from our listeners. The first one I'm going to read is from my friend Katie. She sent this to us in an email. So she said, when I was about 8 years old, I had this dream where I was in a public restroom and I was by myself. As I was finishing up, a woman bumped into me as I walked through the door. She was stunning, tall, with extremely short fire engine red hair. Her haircut was exactly like Kevin McAllister's mom in the second Home Alone movie. She was also wearing a floor length green dress. It's funny to think of now because her look was so iconic for the 90s. Anyways, she excused herself after bumping into me. As I made my way to wash my hands, she grabbed me and said in a super deep, demonic voice, "You're coming with me." And
Oh
she,
my
I
god.
know, and she kidnapped me right out of the bathroom. That's when I woke up. It scared the crap out of me, and I had that dream probably a dozen more times. And every time that woman would end up kidnapping me. Then one day, I was at my cousin's wedding, which was at a hotel or some kind of venue with multiple ballrooms. I left the reception to use the restroom by myself. As I came out of the stall, I kid you not, the tall woman with fire engine red hair and a floor length green dress from my dream came through the door. I ran so fast out of the bathroom, I wasn't about to wait around for a demonic Kate McAllister to kidnap me.
Oh my
I
god.
That's
know.
crazy.
I'm like, she's going to need to tell me
No.
more about this story. Yeah.
I have recurring like nightmares, but
Hmm.
none that have happened in real life, Like that is
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
scary.
Well, the fact that it like actually came true a little bit, like
Yeah.
where she found somebody who looked exactly like that would scar me for life.
Yeah. With the
Like,
same
Yeah.
dress and everything. Like,
Oh my
she was
God.
only 8 years old. That's terrifying.
yeah,
I would never go to the bathroom alone again.
no,
Like,
never.
Yeah.
That's scary. I wonder if she had it like, oh, she did say she had it multiple times over the years, this dream, the same dream.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's so scary.
It's like your future self warning you, So when
Yes.
she saw that
Don't
Yeah.
go to this
lady,
woman.
she didn't hang around. Yeah.
Maybe, like, honestly, maybe it was like her conscience telling her, like, that lady's bad news.
Oh, I
Like,
believe stuff
don't,
Oh,
like that. Yeah.
probably. I'm
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Ooh,
That poor
I'm
woman.
so
She's like,
I
I'm
know.
not doing anything.
Yeah. This lady's like, what did I do?
Yeah.
I know. Oh gosh. Oh, I have chills.
Okay, I've got a couple stories. One of them comes from one of our listeners, a friend, Andrew in Vancouver, BC. He says, during the summer months, I often like to go on evening drives to do some night and astrophotography around Vancouver. I've been doing this for a couple years now, so I have a few go to spots now that I'm quite familiar with it. So during one October evening, when I felt it was still kind of warm, I grabbed my gear and drove to White Cliff Park. I was quite excited because during this time of the year, the Milky Way lines up quite well with the beach there. When I got to the parking lot, it was midnight and there was one other car there, but other than that, it was pitch black and nothing unusual. The moment I stepped out of the car, I felt a weird chill and that something was a little off, but I had driven for so long, I just kind of shrugged it off. So I started walking towards the beach and then I heard a really faint scream from the direction of the water. I stopped for a moment and told myself that it was just the wind, gathered my wits, and started walking again. As I got closer, I heard a woman scream, but it sounded a bit clearer, and I said, nope, and I got back into my car pretty damn quickly. I sat in the car for a bit, and one of my friends texted me asking me what I was doing tonight. I told him that I was out doing one of my photography runs at White Cliff Park. His reply sent chills down my spine. He said, dude, someone drowned there this morning. And
Oh my
along
gosh.
with his message, he sent over the news story of the woman that drowned at that park.
Whoa.
So, I mean, I'm sad to hear of what happened to the woman, but I totally believe that spirits linger in our world.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just so creepy that
Mm-hmm.
someone had died there the same day, and Andrew didn't even know about the story before he felt all those feelings and heard the women
Ugh.
scream. So, sends chills down my
Yeah,
spine.
that's really scary.
Once again, I have chills.
He said there was one other car there. Like, what could it have been? Her car?
Ooh, I don't
That's
know.
really creepy.
And like, even
Yeah.
if it wasn't like, a ghost, like what if it was like somebody else, like something happened,
Yeah.
like
Somebody
we
getting
really
hurt.
don't know what
Yeah.
it was. Or, it could have been, I know like some coyotes and stuff sound like,
That's what
yeah,
That's
he
true.
actually wrote
Yeah.
that, and he said it wasn't a coyote sound.
Okay.
Yeah, because we do have a bunch of those here, and he's heard
that's
that
so
before.
scary.
Wow.
I know.
Ugh.
Okay, I have another
Okay.
one from a listener in Ireland. Thank you, Claire, for writing to us. She writes, "This happened when I was a kid, not older than 14. My brother and I were watching TV downstairs. We wanted to watch WWE, but we knew our parents wouldn't let us, so we pretended to be asleep in bed and proceeded to sneak down once we knew our parents were asleep. We closed the door to the living room and started watching our favorite show. Sometime after midnight, we heard a noise outside the living room door. It sounded like scratching on the door, kind of like nails scratching on the door. We thought it was our mom who had come down to check on us. After a while, I finally decided to open the door, and when I did, I saw an old woman staring at us through the holes in the banister
Oh
of our
my
staircase.
gosh.
We were terrified. I could tell she wasn't human. She kind of looked transparent and
No,
blurry.
stop it.
It was a very old woman, and she just sat on the stairs and looked at us and laughed. I ran back to the living room, shut the door, and my brother and I barricaded the door. We were stuck in our living room for what felt like hours, and we kept shouting for our parents, but no one came down because they were probably sleeping. We also continued to hear the old woman laughing through the door, which
Ugh.
scared us so much that my brother and I started crying. Finally, we saw someone open the living room door. It was our mom. She came in asking us what we were doing in the living room, and we told her what we saw, and our mom basically told us that we deserved it for sneaking down to watch TV.
Oh
The
man.
next day, we talked about it with the family, and we think it was the previous owner who had passed away in the home. She was an old woman. Claire says that in the home, she always felt like there was a room upstairs that felt a little colder than the rest. Her parents still live in that home, and she doesn't like to think about that memory or that feeling, but it is still the family home, and they've lived there for more than 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That gave me goosebumps. Like,
Yeah.
that
That
is
gives
so
me goosebumps
scary.
for sure. Wow.
Especially in the middle of the night, like I would be
Yeah.
so
I
scared.
don't
And that
even
they
know
kept
what to
hearing the
say.
laughing through the door, like continuing, like, oh my gosh.
Oh,
And that blurry, transparent thing, like I've heard of people who have that third eye or seeing eye describe it the same
yeah.
way.
Mm-hmm.
So that really like jumps out at me.
Oh
Oh,
gosh.
man.
Wait, do any of you have that like can connect with spirits or do you guys believe in it?
I really am a really big skeptic when it comes to
Mm.
most things. My parents grew up really religious, so like spirits were definitely a thing, and like possession was
Mm-hmm.
a thing. So like that I always kind of believed in, but I didn't believe that it was happening as much as people said. But honestly, this experience that we're going to be talking about with Kelsey's home and the home she grew up in, that really changed my mind a lot about it. And then there was a girl we went to high school with named Vicky, and she was actually clairvoyant, I
Yeah.
guess.
Mm-hmm.
And she was actually on that show Paranormal Kids.
Oh my gosh. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
She worked with detectives and stuff to like help
Yeah.
find missing kids.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, and no one knew until she was on that show. And we like when she was on that show, we were like she was in the theater department with us. And so we were like, "Vicky, like what the hell? Like tell us
Why didn't
what's
you tell
going
us?
on."
Yeah.
So
And
it
she
wasn't
was
something she was like boasting about in school
no,
though.
no, no,
No.
no, not at all. So she was really open about it after the show, and if you asked her questions, she would answer them. She was fine talking about it, but that
Mm-hmm.
also kind of was like, oh, somebody that I actually know has
Yeah.
Right.
been dealing with this kind of stuff, and like
Yeah.
I've never had any sort of connection personally, but that was pretty cool knowing somebody.
That's really cool.
So I asked that question of whether you knew about it before or if she was like talking about it because then she was kind of like trying to get attention for it, I guess, but she really
And no
didn't.
one knew at
Like,
all
Yeah, no one
until
knew.
like I literally was watching the show one day randomly, and I was like, "Welcome to Cupertino. That's my town." Like I was like, I, like they showed the "Welcome to Cupertino" sign, and I was like, oh my god, that's Vicky. Like I literally legitimately had no clue. Like it
Yeah,
was
we were
That's
shocked.
it
so
was
funny.
so weird.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I know. I want to say that I'm a huge skeptic too, but one of my cousins on my mom's side, so her dad is my mom's brother. Thankfully, none of us have it on our side, but it
Mm-hmm.
comes from her mom's side because her mom has it, she does, and now her two kids have that connection with the spirit world. And her daughter, once at like 3, 4 years old, shortly after my grandma had passed away, she would just like look in the living room or like at different corners and just call her name, like we call in Chinese "atso," which means like I think it was her great grandma. But she would just look at different parts of the room and just point and be like, "There."
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so I'm like, a 3-year-old can't lie, or like what
Why
Right.
would
reason
she
does
make
she
that
have
up?
to lie or make
Yeah.
this kind of stuff up? Yeah.
Ooh.
So they've told me like different stories and stuff that have made me believe that that connection is true.
Ah, that's crazy.
Mm.
I definitely believe that in I don't know what exactly I believe in, but I do believe that there's stuff going on with spirits and whatnot. I've had some weird experiences happen to me myself, but like also I've had a lot of weird things happen after family members have passed away. Just like weird things like 10 years or so ago, one of my aunts died. And for the next few days, my mom kept having on her phone, it kept saying that she had a missed call from her. Just like weird stuff like that.
Oh.
Yeah, or like, you know how like when people are like, "Oh, when I see like a butterfly, it reminds me of so and so." Like I
Mm.
have that happen like a lot. It's really weird. Or I'll have had dreams where I'm like talking to someone who has died and then I'm like, "Okay, well, I got to go. See you later." And it's just like I feel like that is like a message from that person like when it
Mhm.
feels so real like
Mhm.
that. So, I believe in the scary stuff too, but
Yeah.
I feel like I could totally resonate with what you're saying, Liz. Like,
mhm.
my dad passed away 10 years ago, and
Mhm.
I see signs of him all the time. And sometimes I could like feel like his presence, if that makes any sense. Like when people you love
Yep.
have passed on, I feel like you could like feel that they're there during certain times, or like he really
Yep.
loved like wildlife. And so when I see hawks for whatever reason, like that makes me think of him, like, oh, like dad's with us. Like, do you see the hawk in the sky or whatever?
Yes.
And like at my wedding, there was a hawk in the sky, and like certain things like that when you're like, oh my gosh,
Oh.
like I know they're there. Or like one of
Yeah.
my like very close best friend in the world, she passed away recently. And her kids, she has 3 young kids. And ever since she passed, they'd be like, Auntie Kelsey, we see the yellow butterflies. And that reminds me of mom. Like, I think that's mom. And literally, since like the day after her passing, yellow butterflies will follow us everywhere. So, like, even
Yeah.
at Disney,
And
there's
you've
a
never
yellow
noticed
butterfly
them
over her
before.
favorite ride. And like
Yeah.
those kind of things
Yep.
are like
Yeah.
really symbolic and really important. And I definitely believe in that. But like you said, I also
Yeah.
believe in the spooky, like ghosts of it all as well. I
Mhm.
think that that's totally something too that we've dealt with.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like sometimes that comes through in songs even.
Mhm.
It's like songs that my mom and I used to listen together to in the car or stuff like that. And I'll just be like, oh, maybe that's her way of just being like, I'm here with
Yeah.
you in
Mhm.
times where I feel like I really need it, or just her being like, if we're doing a long car ride, that random song will come on, and I'm like, that's so nice. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's such
Yeah.
a sweet
Yep.
thing.
it's a good feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
We are
Let's get
ready
into
to
the
get into
scary
your
stuff.
story.
Kelsey, are you ready?
Okay.
Okay, so we have a spooky story for you today, a real life story from both mine and Kelsey's childhood. Kelsey and I have been friends since we were literally in kindergarten. Her family is close to my family and vice versa. She's like the one person that knows everything about me and vice versa. So it's just one of those friendships that's like never ending forever. So our lives are very intertwined. So this story feels super personal. We met in kindergarten
Mhm.
and I spent every single weekend over at her house. It was a house that they were renting.
Yes.
And I'm going to let Kelsey kind of take it from here and tell you when they moved in and what happened after that.
Okay. So we moved out of my like first home in Santa Clara in 1999, just right down the street. And we were looking everywhere for a place to move. And we found this too good to be true deal on this 4 bedroom house. And it was absolutely beautiful, huge yard. And it was going for really cheap rent. And my parents were like, there has to be a catch here, but they didn't say anything because we were renting, right? So they didn't have to disclose anything that
Mhm.
happened in the home.
Mm-mm.
So, right. So we get in and, everything's seemingly okay. And by like week 2, really weird things started happening where like our lights would dim a very bright red color. It would go from normal lighting to red.
Oh my gosh.
Red.
Red, like red hot light in the main
Ugh.
rooms of the house. And it seemed to follow my mom. Like if my mom would go from one area of the
Mm.
house to another, and it was really strange. So, my mom called an electrician and was like, what is going on? Could you explain to me? Do we need new wiring? They're like, honestly, lady, we don't see anything wrong. Your house is haunted. Like they would jokingly say things like that. And my mom's like, oh yeah, whatever. And my mom's Native American and like super spiritual. So when we moved in, she saged the house. And she's like, no, I
Mhm.
saged the house. Like, I think we're okay, is kind of where she
Mhm.
was at in her head. And just a lot of other weird things would happen where things would be moved across the house or misplaced. And so my mom was talking to her good friend at the time that lived down the road. And she's like, Dana, I don't know what's going on. Then I put my keys down, they're missing. The lights are flickering. The water turned on in the backyard without me doing it. Weird things are going on. It's like this place is haunted. And she was like, Jamie, I didn't want you to know, but about a year before you moved in, the people that lived there, the husband killed his wife, the family. He murdered his wife in your house. And my
Oh
mom,
my
Dude.
gosh.
yeah, I was so afraid
Ugh.
because we were thinking of moving to Washington. That's because that's where my mom's from. So my family's going to up and move to Washington. And her good friend was like, I don't want them to move. So if they move in there, yeah,
Dude.
I didn't tell her, right? So she was like, tell me everything. So my mom called the landlord and was like, what happened? At that moment, we know the story was a family, a mom and a dad and a son lived in our house. And the dad was a compulsive gambler and alcoholic. And he was gambling, and the mom was just fed up. And he went to Tahoe and blew all of their money. And she realized while he was gone, like, oh my gosh, he blew through all the savings. We're leaving.
Oh my
And when the
gosh.
son was at school, she packed everything and ready to go. And the dad came in and, like, I know it's really graphic, but he stabbed her to death in my parents' room.
Whoa.
And when the son came home from school and was like, Dad, where's mom? He was rocking back and forth in a rocking chair in the living room and said, I killed her. She's in the bedroom.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And like it was all like in a newspaper article that we ended up seeing from my landlord gave it to us. Like, this is what
Oh
happened.
my God.
Yeah. So we were like, my parents tried to hide it from my sister and I.
How old were
I
you?
was just about to be 8. My sister was 10.
Because like
Oh,
this
he was so
house
little.
was great.
Yeah,
Like it was a
wonderful.
fantastic
Yeah.
house. And it
Yeah.
was you guys are gonna think we're nuts, but it was literally the house we all hung out at.
Yeah.
Because
the
it was
party
like
house.
it was a party house. They had a big back room that was like we called it the playroom, and it was just like a cool hangout area for all of our friends to hang out.
Mhm.
There was like a sliding glass door leading to the backyard. The backyard was huge. Like it was just a great
Sounds
house.
awesome. Yeah.
Which obviously, like, you hear this bad information, you think they would move, but like it was a great
Yeah.
house.
Mhm.
And everything that would happen wasn't like demonic, like, bad things. Like,
Right.
things would happen, but they were just very weird. For example, the reason why we think it had to do with my mom, it was Mother's Day. This is like the craziest story that I could recall very vividly. It was the first Mother's Day in the house. So I believe I was 8 at the time. And we're going to go out to dinner into my mom's favorite restaurant. And we're looking for the keys. And not only were the car keys missing, but every set of keys. So we had this giraffe. My mom loved giraffes. Giraffe keychain thing, hanger up thing next to the front door.
Mhm.
Every pair was gone. All of them.
Oh my gosh.
And we're searching the whole house, like, what in the world? Where are these keys? And my parents are like, girls, did you take the keys? Did you hide them? Like, this is not a good day to play a prank on your mother. And we're like, no, we didn't touch them. The next morning we woke up, they were on the porch. So we did not get to celebrate Mother's Day.
Outside on the
Right?
porch.
Isn't that why your family stopped locking the doors in your house?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why we stopped locking the front door.
Growing up, their house was never locked.
Mm-mm.
And like we
Mhm.
all knew that. So if we ever needed a place to go, we knew we could just walk into Kelsey's house.
Like, whether we were home or not. It was
Whether
open
they
to
were
policy
home or
and
not.
things, Yeah.
And I mean, it was a pretty safe neighborhood back then. I wouldn't do it
Mhm.
now, never.
No.
But back then, yeah, we all knew it was like the place we could go if we were in trouble. And now I know why you guys kept it unlocked, because you were afraid you'd get locked out of your house.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And another time we went to go get ice cream. And, that time we had our keys. However, the key did not work for the deadbolt in the front of the house. And we had, like Candace said, we had sliding glass doors. We put these
Mhm.
big rods in them when we would leave because we locked the 2 back doors, but the front door we always left unlocked. It was open door policy.
Even when you were out.
Even we were out because the keys went missing and we got locked. So we're like, okay, we're going to leave the front door unlocked. We always have a way in. We got home. The deadbolt is locked from the inside. We don't even have a key to the deadbolt. We can't do it ourselves. So my mom like tried for hours to try to like slam the door just right to make the deadbolt pop. Nothing would work. And like as time went on, it was just more intense, more intense. We put things down the table. As a family, we watched a loaf of bread slide from one side of the table off the floor. Like very, very weird happenings like that in a constant basis. You would hear footsteps walking down the hall when no one's home, knocking, water turning on and off, just like all of the time. People are like, no way, that's insane. That didn't happen. It 100% did. And all my friends were skeptics until
we had our own experiences.
Yeah, until like my 14th birthday when Candace has a story about that one.
Yeah. So again, I'm a skeptic, and Kelsey would tell me this our whole life. There's a ghost in my house. I swear there was a murder in my house. I'm like, you're lying. There's no way. This didn't happen. Her mom would be like, she's not lying. Like, this happened. I'd be like, no way. You guys are just trying to scare me. Like, it's not true. Did not believe it one little bit. And I think it was your 13th birthday.
Was it my 13th?
And we were all sitting around in her living room. Her mom was there. Her dad was there. We were all sitting around just talking. There was a big bowl of candy in the middle of the coffee table. It was a big round coffee table with a glass top. And we're talking and talking. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening. And I'm looking at the coffee table. And this bowl of candy literally just starts very slowly sliding across the table. And I'm watching it thinking like, what the heck? And I'm just watching it go, and then it stops when it hits the end of the table, right? Just stops. And then all of a sudden it slams backwards to the other side of the table and then smacks hard against the wall. Candy goes everywhere. I'm freaking out because I've never seen anything like this. I'm like, oh my God, did you guys see that? Did you guys see that? And I think only one or two other people saw it.
No, Cand. When I tell you that every single person left my birthday,
I don't even remember.
I cried, and everyone left. Everyone besides you, and I think Ariel might have stayed. You and Ariel, and everybody else took off. And I was so upset. I'm like, you guys can't leave. It's okay. It's just the ghost. She does things like this. Yeah.
You're like, I see her all the time.
I don't even remember that. Yeah.
They left and they were all crying and freaking out and totally like.
I remember that I was really scared and I told you, like, I don't think I could spend the night over here anymore. And you were like, Candace, you've been spending the night at my house since we were like babies. Like, what are you talking about? Like, nothing's ever happened to you. And I was like, I can't. That was like the scariest thing I've ever seen. I can't do it.
It was like she knew I needed validation. Yeah. Like, this is enough. Like, they're going to believe in me one way or another.
And so I didn't sleep at your house for like 2 or 3 months after that.
No, you didn't.
Because I was terrified.
Did you know about what happened to that house?
Yeah. Like, I knew that it happened because of what they told me, but I didn't believe them. Because I was like, you're just trying to scare me. Like, I was like, there's no way that this actually happened. Like, because I'm a scaredy cat and I'm really gullible. And like, I'm really easy to get. So I was like convinced that they were just trying to get me. Yeah, I didn't believe it until that moment. I think I did sleep there that night, but I was terrified. I probably got an hour of sleep.
We all had to sleep in the same bed.
Yeah, we all had to sleep in the same bed. Because I was like, absolutely not. Like, that was so scary. And I remember, like, even as little kids, she would say, like, I have a ghost in my house. And, like, we're so stupid. We would do seances.
Oh, my God.
You know.
Do you remember what happened with the snakes when we did the seance?
No.
Oh, it probably wasn't you.
I'm like, I don't remember this.
So I used to have snakes, okay? We had 2, and then they had babies, and we had, like 11
garden snakes, not, like,
no, like little garter snakes. They're very cute. They were, like, little black with yellow racing stripes. Adorable little snakes. And we did a stupid seance the night before, which we shouldn't do. And my mom is like firmly against. So I don't know how we got away with it, but we did it. And the next day we came in the room and my big snake, the mama snake, was coiled up on top of her cage, as well as 2 of the babies. And you have to take off the lid.
Oh,
so I thought it was one of my friends must have been messing with us. And they all insist that they did not go in the room with the cages. They did not touch. And snakes only coil when they're about to attack. They're usually very docile and they don't coil. And they were all 3 coiled. Like, they were.
Oh my God.
It was really crazy.
We used to do seances and we would do Ouija boards. I would never do that now. I'm like
No.
so against inviting stuff in.
You guys are effing
I know.
crazy.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of that kind of stuff.
But nothing.
We were so young though. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
We stopped when we got like sense to us, maybe at
Right.
like 15. We're like, this is really bad. We should not play with
We
this.
legit
now.
would like light candles and haul up in the bathroom and like say Bloody Mary and stuff. Like,
Oh my
we would
gosh.
literally, like it was nuts. And I remember one time we did the Bloody Mary thing and the lights did glow red.
Yeah.
And I was like, nope, I'm out of here.
You saw the red
Oh,
too?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, nope, I'm out of here.
Whoa.
That was messed up. So like never again. I actually lived with Kelsey for like 9 months.
Yeah.
Right after high school because my mom and I weren't getting along. So I moved in with her for a little while and she had 2 living rooms. So I stayed in the one front living room. And like I lived there, so I would be there when no one was home. And like I would go to work and come back and sometimes no one would be there. And when I was home alone, I would hear my name constantly from the back of the house. And I would be like, hello? Am I the only one here? Is there someone here? I was like convinced that Kelsey or her sister were home and no one was home.
Did it sound like Kelsey's voice?
It sounded like a young voice, but I couldn't place it. It was always like, you know, when you think you hear your name, but you're not sure. Like,
Yeah.
it was kind
Yeah.
of like that. And I'd be like, hello? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
All the time. All the time. And
So
then
creepy.
I would hear footsteps coming down the hall when I was home alone. All the
Oh my
time.
god.
So that was pretty scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I would be like, Kelsey, I heard footsteps down the hall. Like, no one was here. Like, are you sure no one was home? And she's like, yeah, no one was here. It was definitely the ghost. And she's so calm about it because she's dealt with it her whole life that it's like so not a thing for her. She's like, yeah, it was just the ghost.
Like big things would jolt me for sure. Like when things would fly across the room, that was jolting. But little things like footsteps, I'm like, oh yeah, we're so used to it now.
Yeah.
And my parents would try to hide that when we were kids. They would be like, Mom, did you just walk down the hall? And she'd be like, yeah. And she was in her room. She didn't. But she would say yeah to try to like calm me and my sister because we would hear it all the time when we were younger. Our bedroom doors would open. Like, Mom, was that you? She's like, yeah, it was us.
Did you feel like the energy was like calm of these spirits,
Totally.
or did you feel anything
Totally. It
about
was
it?
always calm. It was never like, it never felt scary or like she was going to hurt us. It never felt like that. You know, about a year into us living there, my dad was Catholic and they had a priest come to the house and like try to like bless the home and to see if they could let her pass on because, you know, my mom's saging wasn't working and like that's my mom's side. So my dad's like, let me try my faith and see how that works.
Yeah.
And even the priests were like, and there was a nun as well. And the nun was like, I feel an energy, but it's not dangerous. And she's not ready to go. And that was kind of their feeling.
Oh,
She's not
wow.
ready. She wants to be here longer. This is her home kind of feeling. That's why I think I felt so safe with it that we had multiple people say like, it's not a dangerous energy and nothing dangerous ever took place.
Truthfully, as far as spirits go, she was very docile.
Except her constantly trying to lock you out of your home.
Yeah.
After we were lived there for a while, it's like she gave up. Like, okay, they're not leaving.
Yeah.
You're not gonna go. Like, I think it was like more like, I want you gone.
And
This is
it
my
was
home.
always around like mother holidays or like in some way of celebration of a mother, like things would get like aggressive. And I think it was like me personally, I would think that was because she didn't get to like finish being a mom.
Yeah, that's what we
Maybe.
always.
That's true.
And that it was like upsetting.
Did you say that the husband only murdered his
Yeah,
wife?
only the wife, and just told his son what happened.
Okay.
And his son called the police, and the dad was like just calm when the son called the police.
And then didn't you say he was appealed recently?
Not recently. I was still living in the house.
Okay.
So my house was on the news in our local news station saying that he was getting an appeal for the first time since being arrested and that they didn't know what was going to happen.
Oh.
Like, they're like, yeah, he's getting an appeal. It must have been like 2005 to 2010 because I think I was still in high school.
Okay.
So a while ago. But yeah, he did get appealed. I'm not sure if he got out, honestly. I didn't want to know. It was too scary. Like knowing the, you know, everything. And we have a friend that went to school with us and his dad actually was friends with the boy that lived in the house.
Oh, wow.
So he knew after the mom was murdered. So because they all grew up and went to Cupertino High where we went to school. So they knew
Mm.
the son. So it was like a known story in our community. We just didn't know because we didn't live there, you know, when we moved
Yeah,
to the house.
I will never, ever, ever forget the night I was at Kelsey's house. I'd driven there after work and we were hanging out, and then I was really tired and it was time to go to bed. And I had put my keys on the coffee table and they were legitimately nowhere to be found. Like, I knew that I had set them there and they were just gone. Kelsey and I searched for almost 2 hours for my
That
keys.
was really bad.
And like, we ripped apart the living room looking for my keys, pulled out couch cushions, chair cushions. Like, we literally were on our hands and knees looking underneath things, could not find them. And it got to the point where Kelsey was like, dude, you're just gonna have to stay here and I'm gonna have to drive you home in the morning and we're gonna have to figure out later like how to get into your car. She's like, because I have no idea, like they're just not here. And I literally was getting ready to sleep on her couch and I looked and they were sitting in the middle of the floor. We would have seen them.
Oh.
Yeah, there was no
Yeah.
And you would never
No,
put it
Yeah,
there.
why would
no,
they be
not
there? Yeah.
not in a million years. We were literally on our hands and knees searching for these keys. Like, they were not there. They were not there.
Mhm.
Like, it was the craziest thing that's ever happened. I
Wow.
looked at Kelsey like, is this a joke? And she was like, no, dude. She's like, the ghost literally hides things. I was
Gosh,
like, I,
that's so
I'm like,
weird with the keys.
yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, your
Nice.
house is either a human vortex, like that just sucks things up, or the ghost really just didn't want me to leave that night.
Yeah. She missed you.
Yeah.
Who knows? She could have saved you from something. Who knows?
Right?
You
Maybe
never
just
know, like a
protecting
car
you,
accident
yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
I
crazy.
mean, you didn't have a license, Canned, so she probably didn't
I
want
know.
you
I
to drive
did
out
drive
Laguna.
illegally.
Oh,
So you
Okay,
were being
I
bad.
did drive illegally a lot, but only to Kelsey's house because it was so close. So yeah, that did happen. But
Wow.
Kelsey, was your mom pissed that her friend knew this whole story the whole time and didn't tell her because she wanted her to stay?
Absolutely. Yeah, she was. She was really frustrated. She was like, why would you keep this from us? Like, that absolutely would have made me not move in. She's like, exactly. That's
Yeah.
why I didn't tell you. I didn't want you guys to go to Washington.
Oh
Oh,
my
wow.
God.
I mean, it's one way to get you to stay.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad we did because growing up there, it was crazy, but it's good memories as well as like
Yeah.
scary, but it's
Mhm.
kind of cool.
It is pretty unique of a
Mhm.
story to have.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people grow up in a haunted house.
Yeah.
Oh.
How long did you guys live there for?
Oh, 19 years.
Wow. Okay. And
Mhm.
was stuff
Whoa.
happening constantly the whole time?
No, not constantly. It was mostly right in the first couple years moving in. And then it was
Mhm.
like few and far between that we would like
Okay.
have crazy stuff like that happen. And very rarely would any of us see her. I saw her, I think, maybe twice in the whole time.
Saw her like an apparition?
Like what you were talking about, like with the see-through, seeing somebody standing there. And it
Whoa.
was always walking down the hall and always in a white dress. And everyone who saw her separately would say, I saw somebody wearing a white dress in your house.
Wow.
Whoa.
It's super weird. And the craziest thing, my dad never believed that we could see her because we would always tell stories like, oh my gosh, I saw the ghost. Or my sister would say, I
Mhm.
saw her. My mom would see. But my dad was like, no, that's ridiculous. It's getting too far now. You didn't see anything. And like a year before
Mhm.
he passed away, I got home and it was like the middle of the night. I was out with my friends. It was like 4 a.m. I get home and my dad's awake and he's sitting in the living room. And I'm like, Dad, why are you up? And he's like, I saw her. And I was like, you saw who? And he's like, I saw the ghost. I thought it was you or I have a cousin named Mel that lived with us at the time. He's like, I thought you or Mel were walking down the hall. And I saw a girl with brown hair walk from the front to the back. And I called for you and I got up and looked and no one was there. I saw her. I know you guys were telling the truth now. You could actually see her.
Oh.
So it was really crazy. And he could not sleep. He's like, you want to watch a movie? And I'm like, yep. So we stayed up and watched a movie. It even freaked him out.
Yeah, I never saw her. I think, honest to God, if I
Mhm.
had, I would have crapped my pants and never come over again.
Yeah,
But the hearing my name really made me want to move back home.
Mhm.
I'm
not
sure.
gonna lie.
Yeah.
I remember getting the text like, Kelsey, get home right now.
Yeah.
I don't care what you're doing. Get
Yeah,
home.
I was pretty freaked out. And the footsteps would always come from the back of the house.
Mhm.
And the back of the house was where those sliding glass doors were. So I was always afraid that somebody like broke in through the sliding glass doors and was
Mhm.
in the house and I didn't know. But, just the ghost making me panic.
Oh.
I am no longer a skeptic because of that experience.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like one.
No.
Like you had
Multiple,
Yeah.
multiple
yeah.
over the years. So
It was several, and it consistently happened over years.
Yeah.
So, you kind of,
Mhm.
at that point, you kind of have to believe.
I have no
Um,
friends that haven't experienced it. All
yeah.
of my friends have experienced
Wow.
my house.
And it's funny
wow.
because your house was like the hangout house,
Mhm.
and we all experienced it in one way or another. Because Kelsey's parents were just really open. They were the we'd rather you do it in the house kind of parents.
Mhm.
Not
Yeah.
that we did anything bad, but like,
But yeah, they'd rather us have all of our hangouts. If we were going to be out late, no, be here.
We all need one of those
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
houses.
exactly. So we always had a great time over there. But when I think back to how many times we did Ouija boards and seances, I'm so glad that it wasn't an angry spirit.
Yes.
Yeah.
We didn't conjure
Or
anybody new.
yes, or a
Oh,
spirit
God.
that would,
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
And hopefully you guys, I don't know, like closed it or like said
Said goodbye.
goodbye to
yeah,
it in the right way so that it wasn't like left open,
I think we must have, because we
we
always
had
brought
to
the
have.
candles at the end.
Yeah, we had to
Yeah.
be doing something
Yeah.
right, because nothing ever attached itself to us or
Mm-mm.
anything. Like, I hear horror stories about stuff
Yeah.
like that, and that's like my worst
Mhm.
nightmare, is
Yeah.
for like a spirit to attach itself to me or something like that. So I can't
Mhm.
You're
believe
very
how
lucky,
often
yeah.
we did stuff like that. I
Me
would never
neither.
touch a Ouija board ever to this day, like ever. But we used to do it so often. And I'm always like, it's not a kid's toy. Stop selling
I
it.
wouldn't even walk by them in the store. I'm like, oh
No.
no.
Yeah, they used to sell them at Toys R Us. It's
I
crazy.
know.
Yes,
Isn't that nuts?
it's not a kid's toy.
Mhm.
It's not.
No,
Yeah.
it's not a toy. Period.
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
Like,
Oh,
it's so
God.
upsetting.
Did anything ever happen during the seances with a Ouija board? Like, she ever talk to you or anything?
And what would you ask it?
The red lights happened once. I remember that.
Okay.
But I don't
We would
know.
always say stuff like, is anybody here with us? And that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And the red lights did happen. And like a couple times, like weird stuff would happen where we would genuinely feel it move, but never anything crazy during the
No.
Ouija board.
And I would always think somebody was
Mhm.
moving it. So
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like, to this day, we don't really know.
I don't
There's
really
always
know.
like 5 or 6 of us.
Yeah.
I always
And-
felt like somebody
yeah.
was moving it, but who knows? Yeah, I do remember though the one time when we were like, is anybody here with us? Talk to us. And like the lights glowed that bright red.
Mhm.
And then I was like, I'm out of this bathroom. I'm not doing it anymore. Like, that was it. That was like the last seance I was a part of.
Yeah. I don't think that's the last one any of us did. I think that was
Yeah.
the last one we had.
I was like, no, not if it's actually working. I'm out of here.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'd always do it in the bathroom. Like, we'd lock ourselves in the
So
bathroom
why did we choose that?
with the
Yeah, why
lights
the
off
bathroom?
and light a bunch of candles. It was so stupid. Like, I can't even believe we
I
used to do
was-
stuff.
Well, it's like small enough,
Yeah.
that like things can't like attack you from like
Yeah,
around the
I
room,
know.
but
Yeah.
you also have nowhere to go.
And we would watch nothing but horror movies. So we really like we wanted the bad energy
Yeah,
to get us at
it
that
was
point.
just unnecessary.
Yeah.
So, Kelsey, do you sage every place that you move into now?
100% before I move in.
Mhm.
How do you sage?
So you literally, it's like you buy a bundle of sage, and my mom usually gets it from like a native store or somebody that's like blessed the sage.
Mhm.
And then you like light it, but it's just smoke. It doesn't have flame. And you walk
Mhm.
around
Mhm.
and you basically like pray to yourself while you do it. And you go to all 4 corners of every room. Like it's almost like blessing the house in a way.
Mhm.
More of like a karmic energy type thing.
I want to do it. I'm just like scared of doing it wrong,
Yeah.
which is why I don't, but but yeah, I kind of do the same thing like without doing it, but just like if I feel bad energy, I'll just say out loud like if anyone's here, like, I'm not a threat kind of thing, like,
Yep.
you're happy to pass through that
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Mhm.
Totally.
Well, that is the story.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Kelsey.
Of course.
I feel like you hear about stuff like this. I mean, this is very, based on a true story kind of thing where they turn into like American Horror Story. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
adapted into TV shows, but
Yep.
it's really cool to hear it from you who
Yeah.
lived in the house and experienced all
You
these
could
things.
totally sell your story and sell your experience.
Completely.
That'd be so funny. They would change it in a heartbeat. It would be the Amityville Horror.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
yeah.
would say that I murdered my whole family in the house. Yeah, it's so funny because when it's your life, you don't really think about it like, you know what I mean? You don't really think about it that way.
Mhm.
So you guys saying that, I'm like, oh wow, it's totally unique experience.
Totally.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you said that you had people like the news at your
Yeah.
house to report on the guy that like got out on parole and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Like that is
Yeah.
it must be so surreal to see your own house on TV and linked to
Yeah,
like
that would be
this
crazy.
murder story.
It was so
Like,
weird.
But honestly, because of where we lived, we always saw news vans, like,
all the time.
all
Yeah.
the time.
Mhm.
Why?
Because, like, things would happen. Like, on my block, I should have told this story. Do you remember on my block, the guy chopped up his
Yes.
girlfriend?
Oh my
Chopped her up into
God.
pieces.
My auntie was living right across the
Yes,
street
right
from
across.
that during the time.
Yeah, chopped her up into pieces and kept her in a garbage bag and threw it out in the garbage.
Yep.
Whoa.
Excuse
Yes.
me?
Yes, chopped her up into pieces with a chainsaw.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Was it like a young person or?
I honestly don't know.
It was a neighbor. He lived across the street from my aunt.
Yeah, we were pretty young when it
gosh.
happened, so I don't really know exactly the details, but I remember my parents being like, yeah, he like chopped her up and it was like a thing. And
Holy shit.
so like we've had some like crazy murders happen around
Yeah.
our neighborhood growing up. I mean, it was a really good neighborhood though, which is like the
Yeah.
crazy part.
Yeah.
So we just had some random like psychos going on.
And they weren't attacking other people. It was like within like their own conflict.
Yeah.
Which is super weird because our neighborhood, there was never any like break-ins, never drug
Mm-mm.
dealing.
No.
I mean, it's a very, very nice, like affluent neighborhood.
yeah.
So it's very strange that we had the
Mhm.
murders happen, like
Mhm.
multiple within our time of living there.
Mhm. It's crazy. So we would see news vans and stuff all the time for like weird little niche stories that were happening in town. And like it was a city, so like, you know, it was a pretty big city too. So it kind of
Mhm.
things happened. But yeah, so it wasn't like that crazy to have news vans. We used to see
Yeah.
them all the time.
I love Dateline, so I'm gonna watch out now to see if anything's like in
Yeah.
Cupertino
Oh,
because I feel
Yeah.
like
For
I've
real.
that name is so familiar, but I cannot pinpoint like where I've like seen
So
that
we went to
before.
high school in Cupertino, but it's very close to like Santa Clara, San Jose. So basically anywhere in Silicon Valley.
Which is where Us was set. Santa Clara.
Mhm.
They went to that like beach town in the summertime, which is where that whole fair thing was going on.
Yes,
Oh.
in Santa Cruz.
Oh, they went to Santa Cruz?
Yeah, and have
Oh.
you seen us?
No.
Oh, we're watching it tonight.
Okay.
Oh, it's so good. It's like my favorite movie.
Okay.
Oh, it's so good, Candace. It's so good.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on this very special episode. I think we're going to have to make it an annual thing because it was super fun.
Yes.
Definitely. Yes.
And I want to thank my best friend Kelsey for being here with us today. She was super excited to join us.
Yay.
And we will see you next week for our regularly scheduled programming, Back to Laguna. And thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in to Millennial TV. If you like what you hear, we do this every week, so please subscribe or follow anywhere you podcast. We love hearing from our listeners, so feel free to reach out to us at millennialtv@gmail.com. That is millennialteav@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram. We are Candace, Liz, and Adrian, your Millennial TV hosts, and we will see you next week.